This is Ayani.
And this is Corinne.
And you're listening to Sex, Love, Literature, a pop culture podcast where we take a semi-scholarly look at why
and how
the sex stuff in media matters.
Welcome to the first installment in our 3-part mini-series on the Chinese drama Lost You Forever.
If you haven't seen this drama, don't worry. The first part of our mini-series, aka the episode you are listening to right now, is spoiler-free. We give some context about the show setup, share some spoiler-free reactions, and wrap up the conversation with a game of fuck, marry, kill.
Along the way, we also share all the reasons we think you should check out Lost You Forever, if it hasn't already taken the top spot on your favorite dramas list like it has for me.
If you're new to Lost You Forever, already deep in love with the story, or would like to tell us your fuck, marry, kill picks, let us know on Instagram at SexLoveLit.
Don't forget to subscribe to SLL on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms.
All right, let's dive in. Hello, SLL listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Sex, Love, Literature. As always, we are super excited to have you here with us to talk about pop culture and pop culture fun things. So actually, to start off really quickly, I just wanted to say that a couple days ago, as of recording, the SAG-AFTRA strike is officially over.
Yay!
Which is super exciting. Woot woot. Good for the actors. So as of recording right now, I don't think any creative industries are on strike. So that means, well, one, that we're really excited about that as two people who love pop culture and love the people that make pop culture. But also I think that'll allow us to open back up some of the things that we wanted to talk about in future episodes.
Yeah.
That we've been not talking about. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out at the beginning of the episode because I know we've been putting kind of a commentary about it at the start of the episodes that we did during the strike period. So happy to see that those are over. Otherwise, how you doing, Corinne? You all right? Life treating you well?
Yeah, I'm good. It's kind of that weird part as we record. It's that weird part of the semester before Thanksgiving where like you're kind of trying to finish stuff up, but we have like a full week and a half of class after Thanksgiving. So like, I don't know. It's like things are wrapping up, but they're also not wrapping up. And also I am behind on grading perpetually now and forever.
I feel like all people who grade are just always behind on grading. I think that's just the state of existence when you have things to grade because there's always more things.
Yeah, I think I fooled myself there because I was caught up and didn't have any assignments due for like a week there. And it was miraculous. I like got home and put on my C-drama without any guilt. And now I still get home and put on my C-drama, but there's also guilt.
So wait, was this at the very beginning of the semester when only one thing had been assigned?
No, like... I'm caught up in October.
Okay, that's slightly more impressive.
Okay, I don't appreciate your snark here.
Oh, come on. Snark is like at least 1/3 of the basis of our friendship.
That's fair.
However, since you mentioned C-drama, we can use that to start thinking about what we're going to be talking about today. So, as you heard in our opening, we are going to be talking about the C-drama Lost You Forever. This is the spoiler-free episode, so if you have not watched Lost You Forever, you don't have to run away. You can keep listening.
Yes.
We're going to talk a bit about what we like about the show, give a little bit of an introduction, but keep it all kind of, you know, as surface level as possible while still being interesting.
It's some analysis, but also a little bit of a sales pitch if you haven't happened to see it.
Yeah, I think sales pitch is a good way to put it. This is similar to what we did for our episodes on Love Between Fairy and Devil. If you're a C-drama fan, you should go listen to those episodes as well to sales pitch our own stuff while we're sales pitching for another show. So I'm excited to dive in because this was another show that Corinne, I'm going to stop saying you bullied me into things because I keep going along with it. So at a certain point, it's not bullying. It's just like, I don't know, forceful suggestions. It's all consensual. So like, you know.
Well, I'm pretty good, I think. There are plenty of things that I watch that I know either Ayani won't like or that she won't like as much as
Mhm.
other things that like I've recommended. So I am at least somewhat selective in what I like want Ayani to watch. But for this one I was like, A, I love it. B, I think you will also love it. C, I want to talk about it. So
Mhm.
there was like that extra level of impetus, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I couldn't just dodge out of it like, "Oh, I'll watch it later," because you were like, "I wanna do an episode on it, and I wanna do it soon," and I was like, "Alright, I guess I'll watch it," but then it was like 39 episodes, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta plan in advance so I can make it all the way through." So we have a lot of feelings about Lost You Forever. I was gonna say Corinne especially, but I don't think that's true. I think we both just have a lot of feelings that we're
Mhm.
excited to unpack about the show. Some of which are just thirsty feelings. I think both episodes are gonna contain a lot of me just screaming about like hot people.
Of
but
which there are of whom there are many on the show.
but before we get into that, we will dive really quickly into our opening segment. What's sparking joy? Corinne, do you want to tell the people what sparking joy is?
Yes, What's Sparking Joy is a segment where we talk about something we are watching, reading, or listening to that is currently sparking joy for us. So, Ayani, what is sparking joy for you? I think I say that with the same inflection now every episode.
I think you do,
Like I
which is
never
kind of delightful.
we never wrote a script for that. But now I say the same thing the same way.
And it's
But
really funny because I end up being the one that kind of leads into it. So like the What Sparking Joy opening is now yours. This is your bit of like I was gonna say your bit of copy that now when you hear What Sparking Joy just in life is gonna play in the back of your head. Like you
yep.
know exactly what to say. But what's sparking joy for me is an anime called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. The manga was written by Kanehito Yamada and was illustrated by Tsukasa Abe. This started, I think, perhaps last. Oh no, I think it is this anime season actually that it started. My brother Akinde, shout out to Akinde,
Hi,
uh,
Kende.
actually told me to watch this one. He said this he thought it would really enjoy it, that I like a lot of what the story is doing, and he's absolutely right. I've only watched 3 episodes so far, but I have cried every episode, which for me is the sign of an excellent show. So for just a little bit of context, Free Run is a fantasy story. It's kind of set in a high fantasy world in which an elf, she looks kind of like a young elf girl, but she's been alive for at least 100 years or so, went on a mythical journey with a priest, a hero, and a dwarf. I don't know what the dwarf does, but he's a cool dwarf dude.
Mhm.
But we learn all about their journey and their adventures, like I want to say in the first 10 minutes of the show.
Mm.
And then Frieren goes off because she's like, they see like a meteor shower, and Freeren's like, you know, it's not that great to see it from the city, but now that our journey's over, I'm going to go do some adventuring. And in 50 years, I'll come back and we'll all go watch it from the mountains. It'll be great. And there's like a very beautiful time montage that shows her
Mhm.
just going about her life. And when she comes back, the hero, who was someone that was like, we're best friends, we're gonna be best friends forever. And she's like, it's only been 10 years that we're hanging out. It's not that big a deal, dude. But when she comes back, he's an old man.
Ooh.
So yeah, so she gathers all of them. They go to watch this meteor shower, and he dies. And this is literally like the first 15 minutes of the show. And part of actually I might try to convince you to watch this, Corinne, because part of what I love about it is the beautiful way they're showing the passage of time for a
Ah.
creature who, as far as we're concerned, seems like an immortal, right? So it's
That is
all,
very thematic for Lost You Forever.
yeah, yeah. But I don't get the sense that it's going to have the same kind of like Lost You Forever kind of sets up a certain vibe with the title of the show, where I
Mhm.
think this one is more about her coming to appreciate what it means to be human and in a sense trying to instill in viewers the beauty of what it means to live and for time to pass and all that kind of stuff. Like there was and then I'll stop because I don't want to talk about this too much. But there was this one gorgeous kind of montage time passing sequence where she goes to a shopkeeper. There's no dialogue, it's just music. And she's talking to him, trying to get something. She goes off. She has like a couple quick adventures. And then she goes back to the same shop. And dude is like an old man. You know what I mean? So it's all of these little, very subtle ways of just showing time passing, but her in a lot of ways staying the same.
Mhm.
So I'm only 3 episodes in, but I think it's really beautifully done. It's a gorgeous show to even just look at and watch. Um, and I'm sure I'm just gonna keep crying as I move through the entire season.
Makes sense. Keep crying as you move through the season. Like, even my second time watching Lost You Forever, it's like, "Oh, I'm just generally tears are happening."
Oh, well, we will come to, like, the bursting of tears in Lost You Forever. But I guess almost a similar vibe from a different perspective, right?
Mm.
Because I think Lost You Forever is thinking about immortals, thinking about their long lifespan interacting with each other, whereas Frieren is more like, okay, what if you placed an immortal around humans? Well, you know what? I'm gonna put a pin in that because that actually makes me think of Lost You Forever too. Well,
Yep.
our analysis is leaking into our sparking joy, so I'm gonna wrap up here because clearly we want to get into it. But Corinne, what is sparking joy for you?
So, what is sparking joy for me right now is actually a webtoon.
Mm.
So for those unfamiliar, webtoons are web comics specifically on the webtoon platform, and it is called As If Love Does Not Exist. It is based on a web novel, from what I can tell. I wanted to
Hmm.
tell you who it was by, but on the webtoon app, and I also googled it, under the creator it says TBD. So so that's not very helpful.
Unless that's their name. Maybe that's their name is TBD, and it's a clever kind of like, I don't know, meta commentary on writing.
But so that's not my favorite thing, but it's called, As If Love Does Not Exist, and it's about a young woman who finds out, like, in the first episode, the setup is she finds out that her parents are not her real parents. Her fiancé was not her real fiancé.
What?
She was raised by her parents, because their real daughter, their birth daughter, like, was under some, I don't know, there was some, like, curse, or I don't know, some situation where a shaman slash priest informed the grandmother that they should switch their daughter with someone else at birth until she's 25, and then switch them back. So
Okay.
that ends very, very tragically for the main character, but then she makes a wish and then wakes up back as, like, herself, but 10 years previously, before
Oh.
everything, like, went to shit. So the question is, with this knowledge that everyone in her life is trying to screw her over, except for her arranged fiance's younger brother. Uh, he was the only one who was nice to her.
Hmm.
When
Interesting.
her whole identity was taken away from her. But, like, with that knowledge, can she divert or take some other path? So in her previous run at life, I guess I should say, when she, like, goes back to her birth parents, they, like, their company immediately goes bankrupt, her father dies, and then her mother dies of an illness, so she only has, like, a brief period of time with them.
Jesus.
So when she goes back, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but only for, like, episode 2.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When she goes back, she is able to subvert the bankruptcy. um so it's the bankruptcy that prompted her parents to bring in her supposed cousin to live with them.
Ah, okay.
So now she has a little more time to, like, play things out, but I'm enjoying it. It's very much like revenge slash kind of like isekai kind of
Mhm,
stuff.
mhm.
It's also, I think, maybe similar to a K-drama that is airing right now that I have not been able to watch, but called Perfect Marriage Revenge. Uh,
That's an amazing title. Oh, you sent me gifts from that, didn't
oh
you?
yeah, it is calling to me. Like, I want to watch it so badly. It's a makjang, but
Perfect Marriage Revenge, eh? Okay.
well, and Perfect Marriage Revenge is also based on a webtoon, so I might also read that. But anyway, the thing that is sparking joy for me right now is As If Love Does Not Exist, which this is not generally my preferred genre,
No, it's not. Yeah.
but I read the title and I was like, that sounds suitably melodramatic. I will try that. And I like it a lot. So, sparking joy.
Awesome. I was going to say hashtag be melodramatic. I support it. Excellent. Well, these are two very different What's Sparking Joys, but I feel like joy, along with other emotions, is being sparked. So I support it. Oh, and also, just in case I didn't mention it, I don't think I did, but you can find Frieren on Crunchyroll to watch.
And you can find As If Love Does Not Exist on Webtoon.
Well, that was What's Sparking Joy. But since we can't contain ourselves, and even during What's Sparking Joy, we started talking about Lost You Forever, why don't we just get right into thinking about it? We're bursting at the seams. So let's let it rock. Let's let it fly. So as we mentioned kind of at the start of the show, Lost You Forever was a Corinne call, let's say. One of the things that actually surprised me when she was telling me about the show before I started watching it is that she now thinks this is one of, like, at the top of her C-drama list, but not just that, at the top of her list of just shows that she loves in general.
Oh, yeah, it unseated The Story of Ming as my top C-drama, which was a difficult feat.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've talked about Minglan quite a few times. So if you go back and listen to some earlier episodes, Corinne is espousing her love for Minglan. So I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Unseated Minglan? Amazing. Do you want to start off our kind of like introduction to the show for folks who may not have seen it before?
Yeah, so Lost You Forever, or more specifically, Lost You Forever Part 1, it was actually adapted from a Chinese novel that is the third book in a series, and the book was called The Book of Mountain and Sea.
Oh.
And Lost You Forever itself is actually divided into two parts because of complicated laws and regulations around the ways that dramas are allowed to air in China, which is wild. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit at the end. But anyway, this is the first half. The second half will hopefully, if everyone keeps their noses clean and they get to keep their airing license, should air in 2024. But this is part 1. And it started airing in July of 2023. So July of this year, aired in July, August, and I think a little bit into September. I picked it up, I think, when it was about 12 episodes in, and then watched it as it aired. And for those of you who don't know, Chinese drama airing schedules are wild. Like, they will normally start by dropping like 3 to 6 episodes on the first day, and then I think how Lost You Forever worked and how a lot of them work is then 6 episodes air a week. So it's like 2
That's so
episodes,
many.
3 days in a row. So like watching a C drama as it airs is a commitment.
Yeah, that's a lot of episodes in a week, bro. I don't know if I could commit to that.
It's actually really fun. Like this, it sounds very silly, but like especially when you're watching something as it airs and other people are also watching it and like are excited about it and talking about it. I think I particularly, and part of why I enjoy doing this podcast is I like watching stuff, but I particularly like watching things and discussing with people and like sharing reactions and like predictions and analysis like as it's going on and not just at the end. And this was one that like a lot of people, I think the place where I have found the most, I realize this makes me a nerd, but the place where I have found the most interesting C-drama discussions and reactions has been on Tumblr.
So that's what makes you a nerd, not like the 15
There are many
degrees.
things that make me a nerd, but outing myself as a Tumblr user is particularly embarrassing.
Let me know if you want me to cut that out in post so that the people don't know.
Anyway, that's partially how I decide what C-dramas to watch, like if it's getting a lot of like juice and like is going really well. And Lost You Forever was one where a lot of people whose opinions I respect were watching it, and then a lot more people jumped on board and it was like, oh, Lost You Forever is something special.
Something you had mentioned to me about Lost You Forever is that That's kind of like the English title that they chose, but there are also some other
Mhm.
fun translations for the show.
Yeah, so some of the ones that it has listed on my drama list. So we have Lost You Forever season 1, but 2 of the other ones that it mentions are Eternally Yearning for You, which I think
Ugh.
is almost more melodramatic, but also more
Somehow.
thematic. And then the other one, it has a Sauvignon Blanc, so like white wine.
Which probably does not make a lot of sense at this point, but might make more sense as we're going through and talking about it. Because I remember when you told me
Mhm.
Sauvignon Blanc as one of the titles, I was like, "Oh, interesting." It kinda does relate to a lot of the content of the show,
Mhm.
in a way that's perhaps less melodramatic.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of like an artsy title, I think,
Yeah. Mhm,
as
mhm.
opposed to like, man, when I tell people I was watching Lost You Forever, they were like, "Oh." 'Cause
Yeah.
like that is a heavy title.
It is. I always preface it with like, "Alright, I'm about to tell you the title. It's super happy. You're gonna laugh. It's just great." And then I get the same reaction like, "Oh, okay." So, Lost You Forever carries a lot of weight for a name. But for a short show description from IMDb, which is not usually where we get our descriptions for K-dramas and C-dramas, but it worked out this time. A talented princess with a mysterious identity and a special body constitution, who is lost for 300 years, is caught up in the love and power struggles of three influential men after being discovered. Though technically, I think that should also be four influential men, shouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well,
Mm.
we'll okay, we'll give a character rundown, but then we'll talk about that more. Because one of the other things about this drama, and part of the reason it had essentially no buzz before people started watching it, is
Mm.
that all of the descriptions are nonsense.
Yeah. There were others, and I was like, I can't use this. It goes too into, like, what actually happens in the show. It's not just at that point, it just becomes, like, a rundown,
Yeah, the
not just a
idea
character summary.
the different character identities, relationships, and politics are very interwoven and complicated, which is part
Mhm,
of what makes the show super, super good, but also part of
mhm.
what makes it very difficult to describe.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm, mhm.
but we're going to give you a quick overview of the main players here, which if you have not seen it, you do not have to remember. We will remind you
Yes. Yes, yes,
who
yes.
we're talking about. But just to give you the kind of lay of the land, first of all, we have Yang Zi playing Zhao Yao, who is the princess of the Howling Kingdom. And she is armed leading lady. She's the one with a quote unquote special body constitution. What that means is she can change her appearance. She can like shape change a little bit. Not like fully shapeshift, but like she can appear as another person. And
Mhm.
after the setup, when we see her at the beginning, she is in the body of a man. Like, not, she's not just in the body of a man, she is a man and she has gotten
Right.
stuck in
Mhm.
that form, which is part of how she's been able to go missing for centuries.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then, and this is important to know about this drama, it is a reverse harem drama. There are four
Mhm.
characters who have various relationships with Zhao Yao. And the first is Song Juan, who is the prince of the Jian kingdom, played by Zhang Wanyi. And he is the first love, childhood bestie. I'm not actually sure Zhao Yao has ever been in love with Song Juan, but she
Mhm.
does
Mhm.
love him a lot. And
Yeah.
their separation at the beginning is very important to her development as a character and his as well.
Mhm.
Then we have Dong Wei as Tushan Jing, also known sometimes as Yi Shiqi, and he is a young man, and we'll talk. If I tell you any more about him, it will be a spoiler, so I will not do that.
Yeah.
But he is another of the love interests. And then Tushan Jing is voiced by Sun Rui Yang. Next, we have Tan Jianqi as Zheng Yu and as Fang Fang Bei. He is a nine-headed snake demon. We mentioned him in our Demon Lover episode as one of the
Mhm.
inspirations for that episode, and that is because he is a very attractive man.
Mhm.
Uh, and he is also the military advisor of the Chanrong Kingdom, which has been defeated, and so he's really just leading a group of rebels at this point,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
advising. a group of rebels. And then the last character that I'm going to introduce before Ayani takes over is Anyan, who is the second princess of the Howling Kingdom. She's played by Dai Lu Hua, and she is Zhao Yao's half-sister. And she is a brat. And I love everything about her. She's also a terrible person, but I love her.
We'll talk about Anyan a little bit later because she's a lot. She's a lot, but I have also come to like her. Continuing on, we have Chi Sui Fonglong, who's played by Wang Hongyi. He is a successor of the Chi Sui tribe, and they are one of the tribes, the 5 main tribes of the Central Plains, I believe it is.
Maybe after we do the characters, I'll give like a quick political overview.
Yeah. And he becomes wrapped up with Sang Zhuan and Zhao Yao, among a bunch of other characters. Along with Feng Long comes his twin sister, Shenrong Xunhui, played by Wang Zhen. She is an interesting character. I don't want to say too much about her just yet, but she shakes up the pot in an interesting way. Yeah, it's hard to do these character descriptions with no spoilers, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep barreling along. Next, we have Fang Fang Yiying, who is voiced by Lu Man and is played by Huang Sansam. I don't like her. We will come to more description of why, but she is an interesting character, comes from a long line of archers, which is something that becomes very important, and is kind of a devious lady. But we'll come back to her. And then last but not least, acting wise, but least in my heart, we have Tu Shan Hao, who is played by Yi Xiaowei. He is Tu Shanjing's elder brother.
Yes.
And we'll leave it at there. But I also don't like him. Interesting. I read the 2 characters that I dislike the most in the whole show. But there we are. So that's kind of a quick rundown of everyone. Not everyone, but a lot of the folks of import that we'll be talking about. And if there are other people that come up, we'll probably give just little bits of description so you have them in context as we move through. But I really like your idea of giving some political context because while the crux, right, of Lost You Forever are these interpersonal relationships and love relationships and the reverse harem aspect of it all, the politics play a huge role. So yeah, why don't you fill us in a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is actually, I think, part of why I enjoy the show so much because, as I mentioned earlier, it is actually the 3rd book in a series. So it's like that sort of high fantasy, political intrigue. I think it's technically Xianxia, and a lot of the characters are deities, but there are also demons and mortals who matter as characters. And it's not like the King of Heaven kind of situation the way we have in like Love Between Fairy and Devil or Love and Redemption and that kind of thing. Instead, we are dropped into sort of like in media res in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
In the first episode, which does a lot of setup, where we meet Zhao Yao, our leading lady, and Song Zhuan, her cousin, as children. And they are in the kingdom of Jiyan, which is at war with the kingdom of Chanrong. And there is also a 3rd kingdom. So my understanding, which I have not read the first 2 books, I have not read any of the books. There's also like another drama that is like, I think technically like a prequel drama to this one, but I haven't seen anybody talk about it, so I'm not actually sure if it is like good.
Or if we can actually access it even.
Yeah. But there is this political history of this kingdom that used to be united, and now it's divided into 3. The kingdom of Haoling, the kingdom of Jiyan, and the kingdom of Chanrong. Chanrong and Jiyan are at war. Zhao Yao's mother, the princess general of Jiyan, was married to the king of Haoling, and they got divorced.
And
like
which is very spicy.
And they are getting, part of the reason they are potentially getting divorced, this is potentially a
I was going to say, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, actually.
Okay.
We can save that.
There are questions about the princess general's relationship with the king of Howling, let's say. But then in this sequence of like in the first episode, I guess this is a spoiler for the first episode, but the first episode is like prologue.
Yeah.
But It's very sad because the order of events I think that happens is Song Juan's father dies in battle.
Mhm.
His mother then dies, killing one of Song Juan and Zhao Yao's uncles, who it seems was probably responsible for the death of his father, and
Mhm.
then dies by suicide herself and like
Mhm.
buries herself in the same grave as Song Juan's father. Shortly
Mhm.
thereafter, Zhao Yao's mother, the princess general, I don't remember the order exactly, but their grandmother dies
She dies first. Yep.
after telling Song Juan and Zhao Yao, who are they're like 8 maybe at this point, or they look 8. They're probably
Babies.
like 100 in deity terms.
But they
But
look 8. Yeah.
yeah, but like in this sequence of events, both of Song Juan's parents die. Their grandmother dies, and then Zhao Yao's mother, the princess general, goes to war, dies, killing the demon leader of Changrong Kingdom's troops. And then the rest of their uncles are a pit of vipers. So Zhao Yao and Song Juan, after promising to like be together forever, I think at this point in a non-romantic way because they're very young, but
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
can come back to that. Are immediately separated because the grandfather sends Zhao Yao to Jade Mountain because it's not safe. Even though Jian ends up beating Changrong, it's not safe for the kids. So he sends Zhao Yao to Jade Mountain. He sends Song Juan to Howling as a hostage prince, and which is like not great. Being a hostage royal like kind of sucks. Uh
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Song Juan like is in the best possible situation in being a hostage, but like not ideal. But from there, we jump not 100 years, we jump 300 years.
300.
There's
Yep.
a
Mhm.
300-year time skip. Zhao Yao is now a wandering itinerant poor physician in the body of a man.
She is a man.
She is a man. Well, I think we should talk some more about the way that this show does gender. Uh,
Yes. Mhm.
But so at that point then the political situation, Song Juan is like a prince with no power but wants to take over the Jian kingdom. Zhao Yao is missing,
Mhm.
so she has no power whatsoever and her family thinks she's dead maybe but have not given up
Yes.
looking for her.
Mhm.
And Jian defeated the Changrong kingdom and they are sort of like a tribute kingdom at this point.
I think that sums it up. The one thing I'm trying to look up is it the Central Plains?
Yeah, so the Central Plains, and I think this maybe gets into the title of the book, that's like the Book of the Mountain and the Sea,
Mhm.
is that so our nine-headed snake demon is leading the rebel troops that are still like bouncing around trying to not give up their existence, I guess I should say. Well,
Sheesh. But yeah, accurate.
they're like the last lingering group of rebels that
Mhm.
have been trying to like maintain Changrong's sovereignty. And Changrong, I think, encompasses the Central Plains. So, like, we have the Howling Mountain, or the Kingdom of Howling, which is on the Wushan Mountain, the
Mhm.
Xi'an Mountain, and then the Central Plains. That was maybe more than was necessary. But basically, there are 3 kingdoms that are in various degrees of strife. And Zhao Yao and Song Juan are related to both of them, or 2 of them, and then the Central Plains also matter.
Yeah, they come into play.
Yeah.
And that's where our twins are,
Yes.
Fanglong and Xinyue. With all of that out of the way, which is not to say it's not important. I think it lays there's a lot of groundwork that the show needs to put together before like it can launch.
Well, and that's
S-
why like a quick gloss doesn't make a lot of sense
yeah.
because the all of the interpersonal relationships and part of the reason that I like it are the interpersonal relationships are very very deeply felt but are
Mm.
also very informed by political considerations and the amounts of power that different people have at different points of time.
Well, I think that's a great place to start then, right? In thinking about what we love about Lost You Forever, or like, if there's some things that you don't feel comfortable using such a strong word for, but how the romance works and how they're
Mhm.
playing with different romance tropes is something that I think we both rank kind of highly.
Mhm.
Because there are so many different relationships, there are so many ways to play with what it means to both love someone and what it means to fall in love with someone that plays out.
And when love is or is not enough.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So if you like shows that have complicated depictions of love, Lost You Forever is a great one to turn to because I don't think any of these relationships are easy.
Mhm.
But even more than that, I think it explores love beyond romantic love, which
Mhm.
was something I think that I really liked about it. We're going to talk more in depth about the characters and their relationships in our spoiler-filled episode, right? But something and this is I don't think this is a spoiler since we talked about Zhao Yao being a man for a period of time. She has relationships with people that are familial, like kind of rebuilding familial structures.
Mhm.
And during that period of the show, there's a lot of conversation about what it means to build these kinds of relationships, what it means to build relationships that are transient. Maybe
Mhm.
and what it means to build relationships that you don't think are not going to last. What is the value in a short-term relationship, so to speak?
Well, and more specific, I'm going to give a specific example of
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
because Zhao Yao and most of the main characters are deities. So they are
Mhm.
essentially immortals. They are not literally immortal, but they live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe even thousands. But at this point, Zhao Yao, who is a man and like a very, very low powered deity at this point,
Do we want to just use his name, Wen Xiao Yu? Xiao Lu?
when Zhao Liu.
Yeah.
We can. But okay, maybe like a side note here, something that is very interesting about this performance is that Yongji, who plays Zhao Yao, also plays Wen Zhaolu,
Mhm.
and like is playing a man at this point. And
Mhm.
there were and like has scenes with like these other characters who are going to be her love interest, where it's like this is very sexually charged, but
Yep.
also like
Mhm.
these are both men. And like I never really stopped referring to her as her because she's always Zhao Yao to me,
Mhm.
but like there is like a way that it is playing with gender that I think is very interesting. And even when she is in the body of a man, she is still Zhao Yao. I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think of that?
No, I agree. I think there's some interesting play with gender and sexuality here.
Yeah.
Because there are 2 conversations that jump to my brain in which it's not about the body of Wen Xiaoliu, but more what's at his core, and
Mhm.
there I think are 2 characters who pretty much are like, "Yeah, I know this is the body you're inhabiting right now, but, like,
But you're a
when I look at
woman.
your spirit, like, when I look at your core, this is what I see," and I think that's interesting.
Mhm.
And media in other countries, when we're talking about it from our American context, is always a little bit complicated. And I think
Mhm.
there are, to keep using complicated elements to Chinese dramas, right?
Well, and I think not to cut you off, but I
No, go
think
ahead.
something that is interesting and that I have also seen in other C dramas like Love and Redemption, for example, where they
Hmm.
use genre tropes and genre conventions and like it makes it gay. Like Love and Redemption in particular, the end of that, I was like, I don't know how exactly, but this is the gayest thing I have ever seen. And I don't know if like you meant it to be, but it is.
And I think I mean, would it be fair to call it like the first movement of the drama?
The first act.
The first act? Yeah, it's kind of gay. Hmm.
Well, like, there is in particular this one scene where, like, so Yishichi and the snake demon both suspect or know to various degrees that Wen Zhaolu is actually a woman. And
Hmm.
there's this absolutely ridiculous scene on a boat where the snake demon man transforms into a woman
Oh, yeah.
who was played by a different actress. And, like, when Zhao like, so Zhao Yao doesn't know that that woman is the snake demon, and at that point she's a man. So neither of them are in like the body that best represents who they are. But then also like they're flirting, and it's like a weird little date situation, and it's like, I don't know what's happening, but it is I don't know how, but this is somehow both straight and the gayest thing I've ever seen.
It's so funny because I don't think Xiaolu is flirting. It's more Zhang in his lady body. It's doing all of the flirting. It's
Well, he keeps, like so he, like, makes it rain so that she has to go under, like, the cover and, like, be sitting very close to him on the boat bench, and then keeps, like, making the boat rock to try and make her, as a him, fall into his, as a her, lap, and then finally does it so that she falls into it's a whole thing, man.
it's complicated, but it was so delightful. That was a great scene.
It was like, I don't know what exactly is happening, but, like, come on now.
But that also so I think that that sequence too is also great to think about how, like, yearning works in the
Mhm.
show because there is so much yearning, and sometimes it's one-sided yearning where one character is very, very clearly in love with the other
Mhm.
character, even if they don't realize it, thinking about you, snake demon man. Um, and there are times where there is this mutual pining, which I
Mhm.
also have a pin of. I have a pin that's like a trope pin, and it's mutual pining. But anyhow, so the way that the drama plays with this kind of yearning, in particular because it unfolds over so many years,
Mhm.
is super interesting because everybody is looking for love in different kind of ways.
Mhm. Well,
Makes
and
me
that
sad.
I think that is something that particularly appealed to me about Lost You Forever, which I think
Mhm.
I was watching around the time I was watching Love You 7 Times maybe, but, like,
Mhm.
Lost You Forever happens over the period, not just of years, but of centuries.
Yeah. Mhm.
And there is, like, so much time that like, there are things that happen, like, there are big plot events, there are, like, moments of tension, there are battles and whatever, but those moments are very spread apart,
Mm.
and a lot of it is people, like, waiting for things to happen, waiting and hoping for something to
Yeah.
happen that may
Mhm.
never happen. So, like, there's this one particular moment, this is again part of the setup, so not like super a spoiler, but like
Mhm.
in the first act, they are in like a small town called Jingshui, I think, that is not affiliated with any of the three kingdoms. So it's this like kind of neutral zone. And that's where Zhao
Mhm.
Yao has taken up residence as this wandering physician for several decades.
Yeah.
Uh, and she has these mortals that she's adopted that were orphans
Mhm.
as like victims of the war. And when Jiang Yu, the snake demon, like finds her and they establish a weird relationship where she like continually tries to poison him to death and he mostly just thinks it's very funny. uh But, like, they have this conversation where, like, he basically asks her, like, "Why like, what are you doing with these mortals? Like, their life lasts, like, a is a blink of an eye to you."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
her response is basically like, "Well, like, lasting companionship is good, but if I can't have that, then short is good too."
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
this is like, I'm afraid of loneliness and being abandoned, and this is what I can have.
Mhm. Mhm. It's funny because you also kinda made a note about pacing in the outline. I think watching the lives of the mortals pass by and how they change and grow is one of the ways that the pacing kind of works in the show too.
Well, like, there's another point later in the show where there's a 37-year time skip for reasons. And,
Hmm.
like, thinking about the mortals that we met and
Yep.
became attached to in the first 16 episodes of the show, like, at that point, they're either very old or dead.
Yeah. Some of them long dead, probably.
Yeah. And, like, these were people that, like, Zhao Yao, like, loved very deeply, like, as not romantically, but, like, as her family.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. It's interesting because, like, I almost feel like the pacing worked better for me in the second half of the show
Mhm.
than in the first half. There were or I should say in the first act, there were things that I really appreciated about being in the mortal realm in the first act, but I think after a while, I kinda wanted to get to the immortal shenanigans that I knew were coming.
Mhm.
And even though I think they were playing with time in the same way in these different parts of the show, I didn't feel that same burning need,
Urgency?
yeah, to get past the early section. I wonder if I were to watch it a second time, now that I know kind of how the pacing works and when the switches happen, if I would have that same, like, anxiousness to keep the story moving. Because I think there were a lot of beautiful things that I did like about the first act, and, I had some moments where I cried and things like that.
Mhm.
But at I think maybe around, like, episode 11 or 12, I was like, "Let's go." I wanna keep it moving.
So I think something that made it maybe work for me a little better than it did for you is because
Mhm.
I picked it up at the point where, like, at the current airing point, Zhao Yu had been transformed back into Zhao Yao,
Ah,
so
okay.
I knew exactly when that was coming.
Yeah, and I
So
didn't.
I
Mhm.
knew what I was waiting for, and I knew when I would get it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm,
I also
mhm.
think I liked the scope of the Qingshui town section
Yeah.
because it was much more they don't start you like, aside from, like, the prologue bit, they don't start you with, like, the big stakes and, like, the
Mhm, mhm.
political stuff, like, they sort of ease you into that within
Yep.
the much smaller scale of Qingshui town, where, for various reasons, you have Zhao Yao, you have the
Mhm,
nine-headed snake demon man, Jianglu. You have Song Zhuan, who is there looking for Zhao Yao. Like, that's his
mhm.
goal. With his with Zhao Yao's half sister, who she's never met at this point, Anyan, who, like, he essentially is taken care of as, like, a substitute for Zhao Yao because he
Yep.
felt such
Mhm,
guilt for having lost her.
mhm,
And and you also have Ye Ji, who is this other character. So we have
mhm.
the three main love interests guys, and then poor Fong Long. We don't meet him until later, and he never really is on the same
We
level.
we'll come back to Fong Long because he has a warm space in my heart,
Oh,
but
I love him, but, like, he never has the same shot as the other three because he
no,
wasn't there from the
no.
beginning. But we have all these, like, interactions where we're learning who they are, we are learning how they relate to each other, and, like,
Mhm.
seeing how well, and we'll talk more about Song Juan in our spoilery episode, but he is a
Yeah.
very hard, calculating person, and the
Yeah,
people
he
that he
is.
loves and cares about, he will do anything for. But if you are not
Mhm.
one of those people, he will throw you away without a second thought. And
And
when
under
he
the bus.
and when he doesn't know that Zhao Yao is Zhao Yao, he does some very terrible things to her.
Bruh. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna make a note to come back to that because I know that was something that I thought about a lot.
Well, and like watching that and seeing all of these things that these characters are doing that you know they are going to regret
Mhm.
once they learn like that key piece of information that they are missing, I found both heart-wrenching and like so delightful. Like that is what I want.
Grin's like, "I want your terrible yearning. I
Want the
want your
pain.
angst. Give me the pain." Oh, that's
And I think
funny.
especially something that I liked about that section that we lose a little bit later, like, as they everyone knows who they are, like, who
Yeah.
everyone else is that, like, the thing that they want most desperately is right in front of them, but they can't see it.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, girl, yeah. I'm not gonna I'm having feelings and thoughts, but I'm not we'll save that. We'll save that for after the episode break.
Alright, well, if we have not yet sold you on watching Lost You Forever, some other things that we love about it, the costumes are gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Oh, there's
Gorgeous.
the hair pieces, the, like it's so beautiful. The settings are really, really good,
Mhm.
and Howling, Xi'an, and, like, all of the places have a very distinct feel to them.
Yeah, which I really appreciate
Mhm.
because I think it could have been very easy to kinda just been like, "They're a kingdom, so this is what a kingdom looks like," but they're all very, very different and almost kind of, like, determined by the weather in those areas too, which I
Mhm.
appreciate. But yeah, the costumes are sumptuous. There are multiple outfits where I was like, "Ooh, Sanjuan, I want your robe." Like, that looks great. I really wanna get some, like, gold hair danglies and pretend that I'm, like, a princess of Howling and just be dangling all around.
Mhm.
So it's a gorgeous show to look at and to watch. So even in those moments where you're feeling deep pain for X, Y, and Z reason, it's like, but man, does everyone look gorgeous
Mhm.
as they're coughing up blood on the floor.
And the soundtrack is also top tier, both, like, the
Mhm.
OST songs as
Mhm.
well as the, like, instrumental score,
Yeah.
which is fully available on Spotify and has taken over my on
The,
repeat.
the instrumentals on Spotify now?
Oh, yeah, the whole album is there, that it has,
Oh
like, the
shit.
OST pieces and then the, like, instrumental version of the OST and then, like, the rest of, like it's, like, 3 hours long, and I have made
Oh.
it all the way through several times.
So it sounds like we'll be putting that in the show notes because I didn't realize that the OST was out. I've just been listening to the songs, the songs with lyrics,
Yeah,
not like the background
I
music.
will send you a link, and we will post it in the show notes.
Oh, excellent. That's why you're the best. I will say that I didn't like latch onto the soundtrack as quickly as I did with the Love Between Fairy and Devil soundtrack, which I would like wake
Mhm,
up in the morning singing. But there's a lot of really, really good songs. Like for example, there's a folk song that I absolutely love.
mhm.
That's really great. I'll put the name of it in the show notes as well because I don't want it to. Will that be a spoiler? The name of the song? I hope not. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put the name of the song in with the link to the soundtrack. But yeah, there's so much about it both in the show itself and then just kind of the production of the show that make Lost You Forever a valuable one to watch.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's interesting characters, excellent performances,
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
very, very carefully plotted in a very, like, nuanced and intricate way,
Mhm.
and it just has such a strong, like, aesthetic,
Yeah.
both
Mhm.
visually and sort of emotionally.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so if you haven't watched Lost You Forever, now's the time. It's all available on Viki. Is it anywhere else besides Viki now?
I do not remember which more Chinese platform it was originally airing on, because I was on just enough behind that I could watch it on Viki the whole time because it got
Mhm.
episodes just, like, a little later than when they actually dropped. I can't remember if it was iQIYI or something else.
Okay, well, we definitely know it's on Viki, and they're actually actively updating the subtitles, which I think is interesting. There are changes that they've made from Corinne's first watch to my watch to her second watch.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like refining, which I think not a conversation for today, but something we're thinking about is kind of like how the process of translation and those kind of changes impact the story itself. So go check it out. We love it. And after you watch it, you can listen to our spoiler filled episode because we have a lot of feelings and I'm sure you will too. And then you can tell us all about your feelings about Lost You
Yes.
Forever. So, to wrap up this episode, we were thinking we could play a little game to get to like whet your appetites for the spoiler filled episode. We're going to do two quick rounds of fuck, marry, kill, mistress. I know it's just normally fuck, marry, kill, but there are four main love interests, and I don't want to leave one of them out. So that's what we're gonna do. So for our first round of Fuck Mary Kill Mistress, we have San Juan, Tu Shanjing,
Songjuan Tushanjing,
Zhang Liu,
who is the nine-headed snake demon.
and Feng Long. So Corinne, you go first.
Oh, this is so hard. Well, so one of the things that is very interesting to me about this show is both who I, like, am rooting for Zhao Yao to end up with, and
Mhm.
also who I like the most really changes based on whoever's on screen at the time.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Ugh. So, okay. I think I gotta marry Tu Shanjing. I think he would be the best husband.
So part of me, I'm marrying Feng Long.
Oh, okay. I see it. He's so cute.
And I think he'd be a good host. There's a lot of drama with Tu Shanjing that I don't know if I can handle. That's a lot of pressure,
Mhm.
and I think Feng Long is who I'm going with.
All right. Who are we? Man.
Which one are we going
I don't
for?
know. I don't know who I can kill is the thing. Cuz, like,
We
thinking
can
about the other two, like,
we can do kill last if you want.
see who's left over.
Uh
Okay,
huh.
well, I mean, obviously I would prefer to Fuck Zhonglu, but
Oh
as
yeah.
but as Fong Fong Bei.
I mean,
For me, I like Fong Fong Bei more than I like Zhonglu.
so yes, but I think for Fang Fang Bei, like 100%. But if he was like, I'm gonna be a little bit demony now, especially since this is all like imaginary and it's not real life, that'd be okay. You know, there's a little biting that he does as a demon that's interesting that we'll come back to in episode 2, and I don't think I would be mad at that. I don't know. I don't think I'd be mad about it. But man, Fang Fang Bei is so hot. Really? Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm just gonna be thirsty on Maine for a little bit. It's fine.
We already were in the Demon Lovers episode, but now he
True.
gets his own spotlight because it's kind of rude actually. When he came on the screen, I was like, "Oh, whoa, what? Okay." But anyhow,
All right, so Kill and Mistress are left. I think for Mistress, I gotta say Song Juan because I can't kill him. I can't do it.
interesting.
I love him too much.
You know
He's a
what?
terrible person to love. We will talk
He's
about that more. But
yeah. Ooh, I'm thinking to Jing because he's kind of like, we don't have to be together. I just need your love. And we'll
it's like,
explain
yeah,
that
I'll
more in
take
the
you
second
however
episode
I
too.
can get you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, then I guess you could be husband number 2. if that works for you, it works for me, you know? So.
And then I guess
killing,
that means I have to kill Fong Long, which
you're
I feel
killing
bad.
Fong
He's
Long.
so sweet. I
You're
don't.
killing Fong Long. You killed
You're-
my husband, Creed.
You're killing Song Juan though. He's the future king of Xi'an.
He knew what it was. He wants to be king, he's got to take some risks, and some of them are being on my kill list, okay?
As the King of Howling says, the path to the throne is paved with blood and bodies.
Boom, there you go. Ooh, that was good. Okay. Oh, my cheeks actually hurting from laughing. That was good. All right, so we got one more round to go. That was intense. So round number 2, fuck, marry, kill, mistress.
With the ladies.
Oh yeah, with the ladies. We've got Zhao Yao, Anyan, Jinyui, who is Fong Long's sister who you murdered,
Look.
and Fang Fang Yiying. So what do we start with? Marry?
Okay, so I think I would marry Jinyu.
Yeah. I think we're actually going to be in alignment with this one. So Jinyui is very tactically intelligent.
Yes.
And I think number 1, I think she would help me like keep the house in order because she would know who to hire to like make sure our floors were clean.
Yeah,
But
if we got to the point where she agreed to get married, she would have your back.
Yeah. So I think you're right there. Jinyui is Mary. I'm gonna say for Zhao Yao. Which sounds like a really weird thing to say, but like low-key, I think she'd be a good time. She's kind of a flirt, actually.
Oh yeah.
And also, I think because she's not, and we'll come back to this too, but marriage is a funny thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she would appreciate a good time, but not for a long time.
Yes, I agree. That leaves Anyan as mistress.
Yeah, because Anya is so much.
Man.
I couldn't have her as a wife, bro.
We'll talk about Anyan more in the spoilery episodes, but she is.
Oh my god.
I mean, I think she's arguably a bad person, especially at the beginning when we meet her.
Oh, for sure. Yes, I would say she's a bad person.
She's not like an evil person, but she is a bad person. She's a careless person.
Yeah, she needs some she needs a lot of some things, but we'll come back to that. But I think she'd be too much as like my main wife.
Oh yeah, she doesn't have the same awareness as Jinyu, which I think is something that we will see in the second half of the show when it finally airs.
Yep. And that's why Fong Fong Yiying needs to die.
Yeah, she's the one who needs to get pushed off a cliff.
Yeah, she can fuck all the way off. So,
we hate her. The actress is great. She does a good job at being detestable.
This is in no way shade to any of the actors at all, but the character needs to be pushed off a cliff. Wow. So we are in complete alignment for the ladies and differ on the dudes. Fascinating. I've learned something about you today, my friend.
I mean, it's okay. This is maybe giving it a little bit of insight into my own personal preferences, but,
Please
like,
go ahead.
Sangjuan's voice, I think, was very soothing to me in a way
Mm-hmm.
that, like, I mean, I like all of their voices or the voices of their voice actors, like,
Mm-hmm.
none of them had a bad voice, but his voice in
Mm-mm.
particular, just, like, I liked listening to him talk.
No, I support it. He would be doing a lot of talking because you get the talking and not no affection, but that's neither here nor there. But you know what? That totally makes sense because Fong Long is just like he's like sweet and dumb at or smart and dumb at the same time, and I think I
Mhm.
appreciate that because he'll be like, "Yes, I'm actually a really good tactical genius, but also I'm gonna make fireworks for you to show that I like you." And I'm
And
like,
throw them at you when I know you have no spirit power. Jesus.
and I'm kind of like, "Yes, my tactical genius, you threw fireworks at me, but it was out of love." So like, I get it. Ah,
Alright, well, go watch Lost You Forever and then come back.
and then tell us who you would fuck, marry, kill, mistress
Oh,
if you
yes,
want.
we would like to know.
Yeah, no pressure, but also we'd like to know. So So tune back in for part 2 of our conversation, which will be the spoiler-filled discussion of Lost You Forever. I think we're gonna drop them a little bit of time apart. We'll say that it is to give you time to get through the 39 episodes of Lost You Forever.
As always, you can find us at Sex Love Lit on mostly just Instagram these days. But
You sounded so sad when you said that.
I don't know, like, should we start a Blue Sky? Let us know.
I don't know. We'll see. I did have a dream about it, so I don't know, maybe it was prophetic, but all right. Well, this has been Sex Love Literature. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you back here in a little bit.
Alright, bye.
Bye.